I always thought my marriage was solid. My wife, Sarah, and I had been together for 8 years, and while we had our fair share of ups and downs, I believed we had built a foundation of trust and love. I was in law school, and Sarah was a part-time graphic designer, juggling her freelance work while supporting my dreams. On the surface, everything seemed picture perfect. But beneath that facade, cracks were beginning to show, and I was too preoccupied with my studies to notice. The first sign came when Sarah started coming home later than usual. At first, I chalked it up to work commitments or a late meeting with friends. She was often vague about her whereabouts, claiming she had to meet clients or work on projects. I wanted to trust her, I really did, but a nagging feeling began to build in my stomach. I noticed subtle changes in her demeanor. She was less affectionate, more irritable, and spent long hours on her laptop. There was a chill in the air, a distance that I hadn't felt before. One afternoon, I decided to use Sarah's laptop to apply for a few internships. I was running late with my applications, and I needed to get them sent out before the deadline. As I logged in, I noticed her email was still open. Normally, I wouldn't pry, but curiosity got the better of me. I scrolled through her inbox, half expecting to see mundane work emails. What I stumbled upon made my heart drop. There it was, a thread of emails between Sarah and none other than my favorite professor, Dr. Miller. He had written my law school recommendation, and I had always admired him for his intellect and charisma. But as I read through their correspondence, my admiration quickly turned to disbelief. It wasn't just professional banter, it was flirtatious, filled with innuendos and intimate discussions about their meetings. My hands trembled as I clicked through the messages, confirming my worst fears. They had been meeting secretly for months, and the more I read, the more my heart raced. Sarah had lied to me, time and again, while I had been pouring every ounce of energy into my studies, believing she was my support. My mind raced with betrayal and anger. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. This was it. The evidence I had never wanted to find but also couldn't ignore. I couldn't just sit there in disbelief. I had to confront her. As I closed her laptop, the world around me blurred. I thought of all those nights I had trusted her, all the moments I had defended her when friends raised their eyebrows at her late nights. My heart was pounding as I waited for her to come home. When Sarah walked through the door an hour later, I was shaking with a mix of emotions, anger, sorrow, and a desperate need for answers. I threw the laptop onto the dining table, the screen reflecting her confused face. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "What's going on?" she asked, searching my eyes. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "I found your emails with Dr. Miller." Her expression shifted from confusion to horror. "What? You shouldn't have been looking at my laptop," she snapped, her voice sharp and defensive. "That doesn't matter. What matters is what you've been doing behind my back." I shot back, feeling the heat rush to my face. She stammered, searching for excuses, but I could see the guilt etched across her features. "It's not what it looks like," she began, but I cut her off. "Then what is it? Because it looks pretty clear to me." I waited for her to respond, but all I got was another round of lies cloaked in feigned innocence. She claimed it was just a mentor-student relationship that had somehow spiraled out of control. And there it was, the classic defense. It wasn't a betrayal, it was just a mistake. But I wasn't buying it. Her casual dismissal of my feelings was infuriating. I felt the anger bubbling up, fueled by her dismissiveness. How could she think I wouldn't be devastated by this? I had given her my all, my trust, and she had thrown it away like it meant nothing. In that moment, I knew things would never be the same. The air was thick with tension as I processed everything. The shock of betrayal was overwhelming, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. This was the turning point in my life, and I had to decide how to move forward. After the confrontation, the atmosphere in our home had turned suffocating. I stood there, my heart racing, while Sarah paced back and forth in the living room, trying to maintain her composure. I could see that she was attempting to gather her thoughts, but I was done listening to her feeble excuses. The lies hung in the air like a fog, and I wanted nothing more than to cut through it with the sharpness of truth. "Sarah, how could you?" I finally asked, my voice trembling. How could you betray me with someone I trusted, someone who helped me get into law school? She stopped packing and looked at me, her expression shifting as guilt began to seep through her defenses. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. He understands me, you know. He listens to me in ways you don't anymore. Her words felt like daggers, each one striking directly at my heart. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You think I don't listen? I've been working my ass off to make a life for us, Sarah. I've sacrificed so much, and you repay me by sleeping with my professor. I wasn't sleeping with him. It was just messages, flirting, that. All, she yelled back, her voice rising. You're blowing this out of proportion. Out of proportion. You're minimizing our entire relationship because you got caught. You think texting a man like that is acceptable. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. My anger was boiling over. I had never raised my voice like this, but I felt powerless against the torrent of emotions that threatened to consume me. I didn't mean to hurt you, she pleaded, her voice softening as she reached out to touch my arm. I jerked away, not wanting her comfort. I didn't want her to think that just a touch could repair the damage she had done. Do you even understand how this feels? I shot back. I've devoted myself to us. I trusted you, and you've shattered that trust. For a moment, Sarah was silent, her eyes darting around the room like she was searching for the right words to make things right. But I knew there was no right way to fix this. Her silence was deafening, and the weight of her betrayal was crushing me. I need time to think, I finally said, my voice low and shaky. I turned away, feeling the tears start to prick at the corners of my eyes. I didn't want to cry, but it felt inevitable. Don't walk away from me, she shouted, and I could hear the panic in her voice. Please, let's talk this through. What's there to talk about? I shot back, my voice thick. You've already made your choice. You wanted him over me. You thought you could have both lives without consequence. And now it's all out in the open. Please, she begged, desperation lacing her tone. I love you. I made a mistake. Can't we fix this? Her words cut deeper than any knife, twisting the knife of betrayal even further. Love. What kind of love allows for this kind of betrayal? What kind of love flirts with someone else while their partner is busy giving their all? The argument turned into a whirlwind of accusations and half-hearted justifications, each of us digging deeper into our positions. I felt like we were in a boxing ring, throwing punches with words that stung sharper than any fist could. After what felt like an eternity of back and forth, I stormed out of the house, needing air, needing space to breathe. I couldn't think straight. My mind was racing, and I needed clarity. I drove aimlessly, my hands gripping the steering wheel as I tried to process what had just happened. The streets blurred past me as I struggled to wrap my head around the truth. I had never imagined Sarah would cheat on me. I thought we were partners. I thought we were building a life together. The thought of her with Dr. Miller, of their conversations filled with laughter and flirtation, gnawed at the edges of my sanity. As my thoughts spiraled, I felt a wave of emotions crash over me: anger, sadness, betrayal, and an overwhelming sense of loss. I parked in a quiet area of the city, away from the bustle of life. I needed to think. I took deep breaths, trying to calm the storm inside me. Part of me wanted to scream, to lash out at the world for allowing this to happen. But the other part of me was desperately seeking understanding. What had led Sarah to make such a choice? It was then that I realized I had to take control of my life. I couldn't allow this betrayal to define me or our marriage. I needed a plan, a way to regain my footing. I knew I wasn't ready to make any rash decisions yet, but I had to confront the reality of our situation. It was time to consider what was truly important to me and how I would move forward in the aftermath of this devastation. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the city, I made a vow to myself. I would not let this break me. I would find a way to rise from the ashes of this betrayal, no matter how long it took. I deserved better, and I would fight for my own happiness. After that turbulent confrontation, I returned home, my mind still a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. I had left Sarah in tears, but I felt no sympathy for her. My heart was still heavy with betrayal, and while part of me wanted to comfort her, I knew I couldn't let myself do that. I needed to keep my distance, to think clearly about my next steps. That night I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying our conversation over and over. It felt surreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I thought about all the moments we had shared, the laughter, the intimacy, the plans we had for the future. How could she throw it all away so easily? I had laid my heart bare for her, and she had taken it and trampled on it. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose. I refused to let this consume me. I had friends who cared about me, friends who had been there through thick and thin. I needed their support now more than ever. I decided to reach out to my best friend, Mike, who had always been a sounding board during tough times. "Hey man, can we meet up?" I texted him, my fingers hovering over the screen, hesitating. I finally pressed send. I needed to talk about this before I spiraled further into despair. Mike responded almost immediately. "Of course, coffee shop in an hour." I got dressed quickly, trying to shake off the heaviness in my chest. As I walked to the coffee shop, I felt a mix of apprehension and relief. I wanted to talk, but I wasn't sure where to start. What would I even say? "Hey, my wife is cheating on me with my professor." It sounded ridiculous in my head. When I arrived, Mike was already sitting at a table, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Dude, what's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost." I took a deep breath, trying to collect my thoughts. It's Sarah. She's cheating on me." The look on Mike's face shifted from confusion to concern. "What? Are you serious? With who?" "Dr. Miller, my law school professor," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Mike's eyes widened. "Wow, I can't believe it. I'm so sorry, man. Do you want to talk about it?" I nodded, feeling the weight of my heart pressing down on me. I launched into the details, the late nights, the vague excuses, the discovery of the emails. As I spoke, I felt the tension in my chest start to ease, if only a little. Mike listened intently, nodding along, occasionally offering his input. "Dude, that's messed up. You don't deserve that at all. She's a piece of work for doing this to you." "I know," I sighed, rubbing my temples. "I just can't wrap my head around why she would do it. We've had our issues, but I thought we were working through them. I thought she was my partner." "People can be selfish," Mike replied. "It's hard to understand, but some people don't think about the consequences of their actions until it's too late." I glanced out the window, watching the world pass by. I really thought we were happy. I thought we had a future together. "Look, you don't have to decide anything right now. You need time to process this. Just remember that it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong." His words provided a small comfort, but I still felt the knot in my stomach. The conversation drifted into other topics, but my mind kept returning to Sarah. I knew I had to confront her again soon, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do next. After our coffee, I felt a little lighter, but as I walked home, the weight of reality settled on my shoulders again. I realized I couldn't continue to live in this limbo. I had to make a decision about my marriage, and I couldn't avoid it any longer. Once home, I found Sarah sitting on the couch, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. The sight of her made my heart ache, but I steeled myself against the feeling. She looked up at me, her voice trembling. "Can we talk?" I nodded, though my throat felt tight. "We need to have a serious conversation about everything." As I sat across from her, the tension hung thick in the air. I could see the panic in her eyes, the fear of losing me. I took a deep breath, determined to stay calm. "I need you to be honest with me, Sarah. No more excuses." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Okay, I'm sorry, I messed up. I never wanted to hurt you." "Then why did you?" I pressed. "Why did you let it go this far?" "It just happened," she said, her voice shaky. "I didn't mean for it to turn into what it became. I was confused. I wasn't happy with myself, and I thought he could me something I was missing." "Missing?" I echoed, incredulous. "You thought cheating on me would fill some kind of void. You should have talked to me, not gone running to him." "I know, and I'm sorry." I panicked. "I didn't think you would understand." Her voice broke, and I could see the regret etched on her face. "Understand, Sarah, I'm in law school. I'm under so much pressure, and I've tried to support you through your work too. But you didn't even give me a chance to help you through whatever you were feeling. Instead, you made a choice that could ruin us." "I didn't want it to ruin us," she said, desperation creeping into her tone. "I love you. I don't want to lose you." Her declaration hung in the air, heavy and charged. I wanted to believe her, but the sting of betrayal was still fresh. I had to consider my own feelings moving forward. "Love doesn't justify betrayal, Sarah. It's not that simple." She looked down, biting her lip as if trying to hold back tears. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix this. Counseling, talking, Anything, just please don't walk away from me. I hesitated, my heart torn between anger and the remnants of love I felt for her. I don't know if I can forgive you, but I'm willing to think about it. But know this, trust isn't rebuilt overnight. It will take time, and I need to see that you're genuinely committed to making things right. No more lies. I promise, she said, a shaky breath escaping her lips. I'll do whatever it takes. As I watched her, I felt a glimmer of hope mixed with caution. Could I really believe her? Would she truly change? The road ahead was unclear, but I knew I had to protect my heart while deciding whether to stay or leave. It was a heavy weight to bear, but I was prepared to fight for my own peace of mind, whatever that might look like. The days that followed were a confusing blend of emotions, anger, sadness, and a flicker of hope. Sarah was making an effort, or at least it seemed that way. She apologized numerous times, tried to rekindle the affection we once had, and even suggested we attend couples counseling. I felt trapped in a whirlwind of feelings. There were moments when I wanted to believe her, but the betrayal still stung like an open wound. I agreed to go to counseling, but it was hard to shake the memories of her betrayal from my mind. Each session felt like a delicate balancing act. Sarah would often tear up as she recounted her feelings of inadequacy, while I struggled to find my voice amidst the pain. I wanted to understand her, but I also wanted her to understand the impact her actions had on our relationship. During one session, as we sat across from the therapist, Sarah spoke about how lonely she felt while I was buried in law books. I didn't think you would care, she admitted. I thought you were too focused on your studies to notice me. The therapist glanced between us, trying to mediate our emotional turmoil. It sounds like there was a disconnect in your communication. Sarah, have you told him how you felt? No, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want to bother him. I thought he had enough on his plate. See, I interjected, frustration spilling over. You thought cheating would solve your problems instead of talking to me. I would have listened. I would have made time. Sarah's eyes glistened with tears. I'm not proud of what I did. I was selfish. I thought I could find comfort in someone else, but all I did was create more pain. I looked at her, the weight of my emotions pressing down on me. You don't understand. This isn't just about you. This affects both of us. I don't know how to move past this. Every time I think I'm ready to forgive, I remember those emails. I remember that you chose him over me. The therapist nodded, guiding the conversation back to a constructive path. Rebuilding trust takes time. It's essential for both of you to express your feelings honestly and create a plan for moving forward that allows for healing. As the weeks passed, I tried to put the pieces together. I wanted to believe Sarah was committed to making things right, but trust, once broken, was not easily mended. I found myself analyzing everything she did. If she left the house for even a moment longer than expected, panic would set in. I had to remind myself that I couldn't let her betrayal dictate my life. One evening, after a particularly long day of classes, I came home to find Sarah cooking dinner. The smell of her famous pasta filled the air, and I felt a momentary sense of warmth. Maybe things were getting back to normal. She turned to me with a smile. I thought we could have a cozy night in, just the two of us. I nodded, feeling the tension in my chest ease slightly. That sounds nice. As we sat down to eat, there was an atmosphere of tentative hopefulness. We talked about trivial things, my classes, her freelance projects, but the underlying feeling of unease lingered. I wanted to ask her about her relationship with Dr. Miller, but I wasn't sure how to broach the subject without reopening old wounds. Finally, I took a deep breath. Can we talk about Dr. Miller? Sarah's expression shifted immediately, her fork clinking against her plate. Is that really necessary? Yes, it is, I insisted, my heart racing. I need to know what happened between you two. I can't move forward unless I understand the entire situation. She sighed, setting her fork down. It was wrong, I know that now. I was confused and he was just there. It felt good to have someone pay attention to me, to make me feel noticed when I thought you didn't care. But you had me, Sarah. You could have talked to me. Instead, you went to him, I replied, frustration creeping into my voice. What did you talk about? Was it just flirting, or did it go further? Her gaze dropped to the table, and I could see the shame wash over her. It was flirting at first, but then it turned into something more: emotional intimacy. He made me feel special and I got caught up in it. I never meant to fall for him, but it happened. So it went beyond just texting. I asked, feeling like I had been punched in the gut again. Yes, she admitted, tears forming in her eyes. I regret every moment. I don't know how I let it happen. I was weak. The weight of her admission hung in the air. I felt a mix of anger and empathy. I wanted to shout to scream at her for what she had done, but I also understood that she was opening up about her vulnerability. What if you hadn't gotten caught? I asked quietly. What if I hadn't found those emails? I don't know, she said, her voice trembling. I can't change the past. All I can do is work to make things right now. I love you and I want to fix this. I want us back. I took a deep breath, contemplating her words. I wanted to believe her, but it was hard to shake off the lingering doubt. It's going to take time, Sarah, more than just a few apologies. You need to prove to me that I can trust you again. I will, she promised, her eyes pleading. I'll do anything, I swear. As I looked at her, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could find a way back to each other, but it would take work on both our parts. I was willing to try, but I made a silent vow that I would protect my heart in the process. The next few weeks would be crucial. I realized I had to set boundaries, to clearly communicate my needs, and to stand firm in my resolve. Healing from betrayal isn't linear. It's messy and often painful. But I was determined to navigate the chaos, one step at a time. I couldn't erase the past, but I could start to carve out a new path for our future, one that would either lead to reconciliation or ultimately to my own freedom. I didn't know where this journey would take me, but I knew I had to be prepared for whatever lay ahead. The weeks turned into months, and as time passed, I found myself grappling with a complex web of emotions. Sarah seemed genuinely committed to our reconciliation. She attended every counseling session, reached out to friends for support, and did her best to show me that she was serious about making amends. Yet, despite her efforts, I often felt like I was living on the edge of a precipice, unsure of whether I would be pushed off or find solid ground. Each day was a new challenge. I would wake up with the intent to move forward, to rebuild our shattered trust, but then I would hear a notification on Sarah's phone or see her staring off into space, and the doubts would flood back in. I had learned to ask her about her day, to keep the lines of communication open, but I was constantly looking for signs of deceit. It was exhausting. One evening, I decided to take a step back and do something for myself. I signed up for a weekend retreat focusing on self-care and mindfulness. I thought it might give me a chance to reflect and gain some clarity on our situation. Sarah was supportive when I told her about it, even encouraging me to go, as if she understood that I needed space to breathe. As I drove to the retreat center, I felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. It was a chance to clear my mind, to focus on my own well-being without the constant reminders of our troubled relationship. The retreat was nestled in the woods, surrounded by tall trees and the sound of birds chirping. It felt peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos that had enveloped my life. The first day was filled with yoga, meditation, and workshops on emotional healing. I found myself engaging in deep conversations with others who were also seeking solace from their struggles. It was refreshing to share my experiences with people who didn't know the specifics of my situation. They simply offered support and understanding. On the second day, during a group session, we were asked to meditate on our relationships. As I closed my eyes, I began to visualize my marriage with Sarah, not just the betrayal but also the love we once shared. I allowed myself to feel the pain, but I also acknowledged the lessons I had learned about trust, communication, and self-worth. When I returned home, I felt lighter, more at peace with myself. I decided it was time to take another step in rebuilding our relationship. I wanted to create a space for honesty and openness, a way for us to bridge the gap that had formed between us. That evening, I initiated a heart-to-heart conversation with Sarah, determined to lay everything out on the table. Can we talk about our expectations moving forward? I asked, my voice steady. Of course, she replied, her eyes wide with sincerity. What do you have in mind? I think we need to establish some ground rules about transparency. I said, I need to be able to trust you completely again, and that means no more secrets. If something is bothering you, I want you to come to me first instead of hiding it away." "That makes sense," she nodded. "I agree. I want to be open with you." We spent the next hour discussing our feelings, fears, and hopes for the future. I noticed how sincere she seemed, how her body language was less defensive than it had been before. It gave me a flicker of hope. "Also," I continued, "I think we need to find ways to reconnect emotionally. With everything that's happened, I think we've lost touch with who we are as partners." "I've been thinking the same thing," she admitted. "I miss the fun we used to have. Maybe we could schedule regular date nights or even just spend time together doing something we both enjoy." "Absolutely," I agreed. "Let's make it a priority to invest in our relationship again." The conversation felt cathartic, as if we were tearing down the walls that had built up between us. I realized that while forgiveness was a long road, we had taken the first steps toward healing together. As the weeks rolled on, we began to implement our date nights. We explored new restaurants, went hiking, and even revisited the spots where we had shared some of our happiest memories. It wasn't a quick fix. There were still moments of insecurity and doubt. But I found myself laughing more, feeling lighter, and slowly allowing the walls around my heart to come down. Yet, the shadows of Sarah's betrayal still loomed. One evening, while I was studying, I received a text from a mutual friend, Lisa, who had been close with both of us. She wanted to meet up, and I agreed, curious about what she wanted to talk about. When we met, Lisa's expression was serious, and I could sense that the conversation might take an unexpected turn. "I wanted to check on you," she began. "You know I care about both of you, but there's something I think you should know about Sarah." My heart raced. "What is it?" "It's not my place to say, but I think you need to be aware that she's been in touch with Dr. Miller again. I don't know how serious it is, but it's made me uncomfortable," she said, her eyes locking onto mine. The world around me seemed to vanish as I processed her words. "What do you mean? How do you know?" She mentioned it casually while we were out for coffee. She said he had reached out to her and she was considering talking to him for more advice on her career. Lisa explained, her voice steady but filled with concern. I sat in silence, a mix of anger and disbelief flooding through me. After everything, how could she be so reckless? "I thought you deserved to know," Lisa continued. "I know you're trying to work things out, but I couldn't keep this from you." As I drove home, my thoughts spiraled out of control. I felt like I was back at square one, grappling with the reality that Sarah hadn't truly let go of her past mistakes. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time it felt different. I was no longer simply wounded, I was furious. The moment I walked through the door, I found Sarah sitting on the couch, lost in thought. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for what needed to be said, knowing that the fragile progress we had made was hanging in the balance. "We need to talk, Sarah," I said, feeling the tension radiate between us. The air in the room felt electric as I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest. Sarah looked up, her expression shifting from casual relaxation to immediate concern. "What is it?" she asked, her voice tinged with apprehension. "Lisa told me something today," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotion swirling inside me. "She mentioned that Dr. Miller has been in contact with you again." Sarah's face fell and I saw a flicker of panic flash across her features. "Oh, it's not what you think. He reached out to me for professional advice and I mentioned it to Lisa casually. I swear it's nothing like before." "Nothing like before," I spat, frustration boiling over. "You don't see how dangerous this is. After everything we've been through, you're still in contact with him. It feels like you're playing with fire, Sarah." "I'm not," she exclaimed, standing up now, her hands raised in defense. "I didn't want to tell you because I thought it would upset you. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me? By hiding the truth?" I shook my head, feeling betrayed all over again. "I can't believe you would even consider talking to him after everything that happened. Don't you understand how this feels for me?" "I didn't want to hurt you again," she shouted, tears brimming in her eyes. "I thought I could handle it without bringing it back into our lives. I thought we were moving on. And you thought talking to the man you cheated on me with was a good idea." I countered, my heart racing. "This is a massive step backward. It's as if you're not taking my feelings seriously at all." "I'm sorry," she cried, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for it to get out of hand. I just thought it would be a simple conversation. I never wanted to go back to that place." Clearly, you haven't learned anything, I said, my voice breaking. I could feel the anger bubbling inside me, but more than. I felt the crushing weight of disappointment. I thought we were building something new, but instead you're still clinging to the past. Please, let's try to fix this. I don't want to lose you, she pleaded, stepping closer to me, her eyes desperate. You mean everything to me. Do I? I shot back, the question hanging heavily in the air. Do I really mean everything to you? Because I'm starting to doubt that. If you cared about me, you wouldn't even consider speaking with him. You cut all ties. Her silence spoke volumes. I could see the realization washing over her face. It was like a light had dimmed in her eyes, and I felt a pang of sadness knowing that I was the one to extinguish it. Maybe I should have told you sooner, she admitted quietly. But I didn't want to drag up the past. I thought I could manage it. Manage it? You can't manage feelings like that. It's not something you can compartmentalize and forget, I said, my heart racing. You need to make a choice, Sarah. If you want to be with me, you have to. Cut him out of your life completely. No more excuses, no more contact. It's either me or him. I don't want him, she insisted, her voice rising again. I chose you, I made a mistake, and I'm trying to move forward. I love you, I'm committed to us. Then prove it, I challenged, my voice firm. Prove that you're serious about this, that you're willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild trust between us. If you want a chance, it starts now. I will, I promise. Just give me another chance, she said, her voice breaking. I could see the sincerity in her eyes, but I also felt the weight of doubt creeping in again. Sarah, it's not just about promises anymore, it's about actions, I said flatly. If you want a future with me, you need to show me that you're willing to cut all ties with the past. I can't keep doing this dance of uncertainty. My heart can't take it. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. I will, I swear. I'll block him and I won't ever contact him again. I want you, not him. Then. Do it, I urged, my voice softening for the first time. Show me you mean it, because I want to believe in us, but trust takes time. I'm willing to work on it, but I need to know I can count on you. I'll prove it, I promise, she said, her voice trembling but filled with determination. I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of hope and caution. This was a pivotal moment, and I needed to remain vigilant. Healing wouldn't happen overnight, but perhaps we could forge a new path together if Sarah was truly committed to making things right. As the days turned into weeks, I watched her take those first steps. She made the difficult decision to block Dr. Miller and cut all contact. I could see the effort she was putting into rebuilding our relationship, and while it didn't erase the past, it felt like a fresh start, a new beginning. We continued our counseling sessions, focusing on open communication and rebuilding the trust that had been shattered. Slowly, little by little, I felt the tight grip of resentment begin to loosen. It was a long road ahead, but I realized that I could take it one step at a time as long as we were both committed to the journey. I learned that the road to healing is complex and fraught with challenges, but it's also filled with opportunities for growth. It taught me about the depth of my own emotions, the importance of vulnerability, and the necessity of fighting for what I believed in. As for Sarah and me, we were navigating the complicated territory of forgiveness together, and while I couldn't predict the future, I felt a sense of determination to reclaim our love, one day at a time. The journey was far from over, but I knew that if we faced it together, we could find our way back to each other.